Hello there and welcome to our totally fun, fabulous interview on attachment mindset and demon feeding a compassionate approach. I'm so happy to have you here, and we have the beautiful Marianne Gunther. And so I would like to just start with giving you a little introduction to myself and how this interview came about and what led into this discussion topic. And then I'm going to hand it over to Marianne, and she's going to talk a little bit about her history and her path and demon feeding, and we're going to get into all that good stuff. So again, here is our title here: Attachment Mindset and Demon Feeding, a Compassionate Approach. And my name is Brianna McWilliam. I call myself the Abundant Healer. I kind of have two identities. I have an online school called creativeartstherapysonline.com. And I also have a training program called The Abundant Healer, 90 Days to Skyrocket Your Career, which is an online training program for therapists and healers interested in expanding their client base, attracting soul clients, getting more cash flow into their lives, and creating a signature program that will allow them to launch their talents and skills online and start bringing in some revenue. Now, and this is just what I just said. Now, essentially, the quintessential question of the program is, how do we honor our soul's creativity while engaging in a reciprocal relationship with the material world? Because it is my belief that financial abundance, when it extends from spiritual sovereignty, it's really not your job anymore. It's your sole purpose, right? And so I used to feel chaotic alone and like there was something missing that everyone else knew. But then I started to really invest in myself and my creativity, and that became an expression of my soul purpose. And the culmination of that was creating an online program, which I launched online, my online school, and I started bringing in between $5,000 to $7,500 a month in online revenue. And so essentially the program that I offer is a program that helps you leap, land, and thrive in your business. So it is one path, one approach, one program that helps you find soul clients, works on your mindset, explore energy healing, create valuable content. You learn some marketing magic, you learn how to use Facebook ads, break through your visibility blocks, create fabulous sales funnels, and launch yourself live and online. Now, where does demon feeding come into all of this? Well, for me, that's the mindset piece, right? And you'll notice in that path, it's the second thing we look at. And that's because if you can't get beyond your mindset blocks, you're not going to make it very far, either in business or in your relationship. And so I have found that with the people that I work with, one of the biggest mindset blocks they have relate to attachment issues. They're struggling with money and their relationships are failing. Or maybe they're doing well financially, but they're suffering internally because they're not able to make emotional connections and they've sacrificed so much of their quality of life to just make money. And I view this as like swimming upstream, right? It's financial wealth is not the same as spiritual wealth and abundance. And so for me, when Marianne and I started talking about these things over dinner, actually, she started telling me about this idea of demon feeding. And as she spoke about it, I thought, this is such an amazing thing that I felt really bridged my two passions, which are attachment issues and mindset issues when it comes to business, because to my mind, they're often synonymous. And so she told me a bit about her work. And now I'm going to hand it over to you, Marianne, and have you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll ask you a few questions about demon feeding and how you've incorporated that into your work.
Brianna, so much. I'm so excited about being here. I am really excited, and I have to thank you so much for creating this incredible training. And as you know, I'm interested. Absolutely. So I am who I am. I am a licensed creative arts psychotherapist. I am been in the field over 27 years. I graduated from Pratt Institute in 1991, and there was not a cell phone or Facebook page in sight. A long time ago. So I did what many art therapists did, and I cut hospitals and inpatient units and family centers, and really, did the work. I then went back to school as a postgraduate, in Institute for Expressive Analysis here in New York. And so I really started, deepening my understanding of, attachment theory, object relations, psychoanalytic expressive therapy approaches, and sort of deepening my craft. And then I've worked in a variety of settings. I worked earlier. Particular experiences that really deepened my work and my seeking the demon feeding training, which I'll get into, was my work with hospice and palliative care. So I really started opening up to loss and grief. I was also going through my own personal divorce, which is also what led me to the demon feeding work. So catch up to now, I'm currently in a contemplative science psychotherapy program with the Milanda Institute, and I'm integrating mine as well as with my art therapy. And then also I continue to do feeding work as a psychotherapist.
Great.
Let's see. Oh, so can you show the next slide?
Sure.
Okay. There you go. So this is I'm sorry, back to the last slide. The other slide. Well, that's me, by the way. This is my family. We'll get there. So this Listening Art New York is the name of my business. And just that what I really have come to see is that, when we talk about therapy, most people think of therapy, they think about, oh, I get to talk about my problems, right? And we call it often the talking cure, right? That's what psychoanalysis was referred to. What I've come to experience is that actually listening, both for me as a clinician and also encouraging the person I'm working with to also listen and tune into oneself, right? So it's a listening art. And art meaning, and I put the little sculpture there, and that, by the way, is Milarepa putting his hand to his ear, and that's basically a bodhisattva in the Tibetan tradition, an enlightened being, Milarepa. The idea that our art, if we attention, our art can speak to us, our creativity can speak to us. We can understand ourselves and integrate ourselves through our creativity. So that's good. That's pretty much where I'm coming from as a clinician here in New York. My office, my practice is in the West Village. And so now I'm going to talk about where I'm coming from and talk a little bit more about the juicy stuff, my personal life, and what led me to seeking this demon feeding work. So if you could show the next slide. Where am I coming from? I am from a large Irish, Catholic, Italian, German family in upstate New York. You can probably pick that's me in my little Bella. And actually, oddly enough, I'm really holding a beautiful meditation posture. Who knew? I think I'm probably doing a ballet posture, but I've got my eyes in the point position of meditation. And next slide, please. My childhood aspirations were very different than becoming a demon feeder. So I threw this in because we have ego ideals, right? We have super me. I very much aspired as a child to be like the teachers in my life. We went to a Catholic school. We had these amazing sisters of a Franciscan order. This is actually, I am in a play. This was not my school uniform. I'm about 10 years old, and we were doing a play about the history of our school. And I played the principal. So I wanted to be Mother Superior. I wanted to serve the world and heal the world through, service and love and all these things that the nuns, the sisters gave me. I was very blessed. I had beautiful teachers that really embodied. They spoke several languages. They painted. They danced. They were incredible. So I basically, next slide, please. So I actually actually grew out of that. I did not end up joining the convent, though I will say I had an interview. My father and I went and spoke to the Mother Superior of that particular order, and she basically told me, she said, why don't you go to college? So I went to the Museum School of Fine Arts in Boston. It's affiliated with Tufts University. It's now actually a specialty school of Tufts University. And in Boston, I was very involved. It was I'm really dating myself, 1982, and there was special sessions on disarmament. It was, no nukes. Reagan was the president, and I was maybe 20, scared I'd blow our planet up. So I had gone on this peace walk, and I had met this incredible Buddhist order, Japanese Buddhist order, Nipanta Myohoji, and we would do peace walks, and it really opened me up and really expressed my wish to create peace in the world. And then with that order, they created a stupa or peace pagoda in Western Mass, the New England Peace Pagoda. And this is me at that beautiful place, I am putting gold leaf on a statue of Shakyamuni Buddha. So I was like in a grassroots community dedicated to world peace, and creating these and making these beautiful art sculptures of the Buddha. So let's see. Fast forward, interestingly, that order was also a monastic order, and I was getting pressure to become and I basically stepped back, and I continued my spiritual practice, but I knew I needed to be in the world as well, and not take a monastic, not renunciate the world of what they call homesteaders, person, but continue my spiritual practice. So next slide. So when I met Lama Tsultrim Allione, so this is my teacher, my mentor, Lama Tsultrim Allione, who, interestingly enough, had a similar trajectory. She became a nun at 9 years old in this tradition, and she gave back her vows and came back to the United States and continued, and is a lama, a lay lama. So she married and had children. I met and was really moved and inspired by her teachings around 2000. And so what was going on for me was that I was at that point almost 40 years old. I had become a mom. I had a very young child, a beautiful daughter, and I was in the middle of a very unfortunately egregious divorce with her father. And it was really scary and difficult. And a friend of mine invited me to hear Lama Tsultrim speak, who at that time was beginning, I don't believe she had published her book yet, but she was introducing the practice of chut, which is an ancient Tibetan practice. It means to cut through. And the teachings, it's based on the teachings of Matchig Lapdrong, who I'm going to speak more about, who was basically a Buddha, a Bodhi woman, who introduced this practice of rather than trying to suppress or deny or vanquish and the negative forces, you feed them. And it's a very, the chut practice is an esoteric, highly ritualistic practice of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And what Lama Tsultrim did was she integrated and translated I'm going to talk about demon feeding. She translated this practice into a contemporary Western psychology practice that people like myself can offer to other people who are not Buddhists. So she translated this so that that we Westerners can feed our demons, which really what we're talking about is we're feeding our fears, our anxieties, our thoughts, these are not, we're not feeding these demons, you know, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, depending on your language, right? And
exactly. So next slide. And so I began studying with her, and then over time, this incredible center, Taramandala, was her vision, and it is now manifested and is a gorgeous place. I highly recommend people to go there. And I'm fortunate to actually go and complete a 6-day retreat in which I became a certified demon feeder, level 1. So like anything, right? There are many steps to this. So I'm only level 1, but what it means is that I'm trained in the steps so that I can offer it in my psychotherapy sessions with the people I work with. Let's see. Can you show me the next slide?
sure.
Okay. So let me talk a bit about, so I'm going to talk now about the demon feeding process. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you have any questions? Okay. Do you have any questions? I've been rolling along, Brianna.
No, actually, you're going right where I was hoping you would go, to tell us a little bit about demon feeding and that, you know, what is it? Like, what is that?
Great. Good. Sorry, I get on this and I can talk for days, right? All right. So now I want to show you, I know I'm in a little time. This is the book. It's called Feeding Your Demons, Ancient Wisdom. Let me see. Let me just get it. I love this title. Ancient Wisdom for Resolving Inner Conflict. So ancient, we're talking about, this is the beautiful Matchig Labdrong. And with Tibetan art, what I found, it's very, very drawn to this. So her body is white, but that means it's like she's a being of light. She is transcended. She's a being of light, and she's dancing in a rainbow, right? And we know rainbows also are representative of transcendence and unity, right? And so in looking at the difference between Western and Eastern views of demon feeding, I'm going to talk about Chig Labdrong and her story, and then compare it to demons. So the story is that Matchig Labdrong, and bear with me, I'm going to read from the book. So Matchig was meditating with her teacher, and she was with other practitioners, and she achieved this state of consciousness where she lifted off her cushion and floated through the wall, and then floated out and landed in a tree. But this just wasn't any regular tree. Actually, can we go back to just me talking?
Sure.
Thanks. Hi, thank you. So Matchig, she elevates and floats and lands in this beautiful tree next to a pond. Now, this isn't an ordinary pond. This is a pond that's being haunted by a naga. And a naga is a water spirit. And it's the water, these Mercutio beings are, if you don't attend to them, they will become very mean. And if you do honor them, they are treasure holders. They are protectors and allies. But, so it's tricky. You gotta you gotta pay attention. Pay your dues. So this naga was haunting, and no one even on. That's how terrifying this naga was. So Matchig, she's in this altered state of non-dual, there's no ego. She's just being and in the tree, and the naga is like, who the heck are you? You're in my territory. And the text, and this is an ancient text, says that she basically transformed herself into a food offering. So she fed the naga. And I forgot to mention, the Naga got like his dominion. Like there's an army of Nagas that came forward. They were really, really angry because actually she ignored them. She didn't respond immediately because she wasn't in a, as they say, she had no ego. And then when, you know, they really rallied, she then just transformed and offered herself. And because there was no, the Nagas then became her ally, and they pledged to protect her, never harm her or other beings. And so then the space became transformed, and the demon became the ally. All right. So compare, now next slide. And now we're going to compare it to the Western mythology. Keep going. Ah, there we go. Here he is. So in Western tradition, when something evil, the seven-headed Hydra, I think, shows her its ugly head, the hero Hercules attacks, destroys, kills. So Hercules and his, I think his name is Iolaus. So if you look carefully, so what he's doing is he's slicing off the head, but unfortunately, when you slice off the head of the Hydra, two more appear. And so he's working really hard, and apparently this creature like got him over the edge of, like, he's almost going to drown. Finally, you know, between this combination of slicing and using his nephews basically burning and cauterizing the neck, that finally there's one head left. And this head is immortal. And so he realizes that he has to cut off at the neck that is mortal. So the head itself, so what does he do? He cuts off the head and under a rock. Okay, so now you can come back to me. You can come back to me. So look at, so really, so the Western view is slice and dice, kill, but is it really over? The head that is immortal is buried under a rock. So it could rise again. So the Western view is the Western message we get, the message we get in this culture, oh, this is all over. We know this story, right? Like, this is the comes and kills the bad guys, and we've gotten so used to that. We think that this is what you're supposed to do. That we've lost touch with the quality of nurturing and integrating that which seems opposite. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about what the process of demon feeding actually like looks like in a session, like, and how you bring this into your work as a therapist?
So I will talk about my own experience and how the demon feeding helped me.
Mm-hmm.
So the process is it's a 5-step process wherein you identify what's eating at you. Okay, so I've done this many times, and actually part of my training, I'm committed to feeding 108 demons, like 85. So lifelong process. But the very okay, and this connects up with my work and with Lama Siltram, is that my very first demon was the demon of my divorce. I felt powerless. I felt heartbroken. You know, I thought this was the love of my life. I thought we would grow old together, and it just really, I really wasn't working out. I had to unfortunately, leave the marriage. I also, so I was scared. There was a lot and the demon in me, what happened it was the demon of fear, anxiety, but also abandonment. I felt very abandoned. So the process is that you do, so the process is 5 steps. And but before you do the 5 steps, we do a 9 purification, a Tibetan purification breath, grounded, and you purify body, heart, and mind. And then I would do a scan and sort of begin to assess in my body what is going on, what's eating at me. So I know I need to deal with this demon, but I want to see where in the body, where is it really manifesting. So my place where I hold my demon holds is my stomach often. I will say it's changed, which is good. But at that time, what you do then is you scan the body and you find where it's happening, and then I amplify it. This is like step 1, finding the demon in the body, amplifying it, and giving it a color, shape, and temperature, identifying it, and to the point where it would feel almost uncomfortable, like I can't hold this anymore. And then the next step is you imagine it going out of your body and sitting in the chair in front of you. So let me back up and say, this practice, Lama Sultan had worked with professional psychotherapists who in the Gestalt practice. So you may be familiar with chair work, right? So Gestalt psychotherapy, Fritz Perls, he did a lot of work with identifying and amplifying our internalized. He did a lot of dream work. So he would like dream and amplify them. So what's the river saying to you? What would you say, right? So you amplify the demon, and you amplify the energy, in the chair, out, and it's a color shape. And then, so then the next, I think it's the 3rd step, you imagine that this becomes a being. So I'm now sitting in front of an empty chair, imagining that this is a creature with arms and legs. And so this practice best with a partner or a therapist. And so my partner would ask me, so what do you see? So this is an active imagination, right, Carl Jung? So you're in this almost trance stage of active imagination. So now I describe, the demon is this fat, red-faced baby who's just screaming and really angry at me, right? So then, and I really look at, really take in, see all the details of it. So once I have that demon in front of me, then, and this is I'm so sorry, I'm not keeping track of the steps. But then I say, I have 3 questions to ask the demon. I apologize, I should have made a slide of this, but the questions
No, I'd rather see your face.
Thank you. What do you want? What do you need? And how will you feel when you get what you need? Right? So then I go in and I become the demon, right? And I'm like, what I want is you to pay attention to me. What I need is understanding and loved and accepted when I get what I need, right? So then I get out of, I leave the demon, so I amplify, I become the demon, I answer, I do what I just did. And then I go back into being my chair, and I see the demon in me. And now this is important. The step is, what's important is to be aware of, I'm talking about myself, but also as a therapist, when I'm working with someone, to make sure that person has not had severe trauma where they have experienced tremendous dissociation. because the next thing I'm describing is rather dissociative. The step is that I then dissolve myself into a nectar quality. So the quality of love, answer, when the demon says, I will feel, that's what you pay attention to. I will feel love and accepted. So then I go back into me and I find within me the love and acceptance, and then I dissolve me into that love and acceptance. However, if I'm working with someone who's disassociation, they have felt dissolved, right? You don't want to take them there. So what I will say is imagine an endless supply of love and affection and pouring through your being and becoming this demon. So really, again, because really what we're talking about is, and we know this on a metaphysical level, there's no separation, right? Everything is interconnected. Love is always available. And what's powerful is when I realize I am that love, I can become the nurturance to myself, to my fragmented little baby who feels like a demon, but is really just a shadow of me. That and this will lead in beautifully with attachment theory and mindset. I'm fragmented internally. I don't quite feel good about the fact that I feel a little ashamed about that, especially where I came from. Good Catholic girls don't need very much. Good Catholic girls can get by with a breadcrumb and a little glass of water, right? So, hey, guess what? But a 40-year-old woman with a 16-month-old baby has needs and needs to have those needs met. And so I dissolve and I give this love, which is really always there, to myself, to this fragmented self. So then the step is you sit in the state, you feed the demon to complete satisfaction. And this is in this place, and it's a very beautiful, when I've done this with people, it gets very quiet. And oftentimes, like I know my partner was like, I'm feeding the demon. So I'm in my own little world, kind of quiet, and you're like, how's it going? Are they eating? How's it going? Seconds, thirds, and sometimes it can get confusing because you're like, God, this team, man, is this going to take 2 days? So one of the things that I've been trained by Lama Sutram is to imagine the demon is completely satisfied. So what would that look like? So you imagine the demon is completely satisfied, and then has another being arisen, right? So back to the story, the Nagas change into allies, right? So for me, the baby turned into this incredibly beautiful, big, large Mother Earth that actually had red hair, like you, by the way, and was just like this abundant, and loving Mother Earth. And so then the step to ally. And so then the prompt is to ask the ally, how will you protect me? How will you help me? How can I gain access to you? And what is your pledge to me? And so then again, I sit in the seat of the ally and really embody the ally. So then I physically experience, again, me, it's all me, but I experience accessing this abundant earth mother goddess and then answering from that place. I will help you by reminding you that nature is always you, etc. The final and most step is that then you dissolve ally. You imagine the ally becomes light, and you notice the color of the light, and then you take in this light completely into your being, and you and the ally dissolve as one, and you rest in the state of non-dual awareness. And you just rest. And then and you rest. And then when you come back, what I love is as I'm opening my eyes, I imagine everything I'm looking at is radiating the energy of the ally. I still feel that energy in my being as I come back to daytime consciousness. And then there's, I talked with my partner. They asked me questions so that I can integrate the process. So that's the 5-step process.
I love that.
What I do now is yeah. Sorry. Please, you have any? Please tell me any questions. I gave you a whole lot. That was a big meal.
Well, to my mind, it feels a lot like imaginal dialogues, and in some ways, and also I like this because in my work with attachment, I talk about how when the wounds are that early, and when I talk about attachment, it's usually in the frame of the chakra system, but that the wounds are typically in the root and the sacral, and that these are parts of the body associated with duality and with being able to hold ambiguous feeling. And also that's the time of life when we start learning how to name and label things. And so what really appeals to me about the process is that we're going through this procedure by which you are assigning an image, a symbol, a name, a personality to an aspect of yourself that may have been left unorganized. You talked about dissociation, right? That even through possibly traumatic experiences, those parts become kind of amorphous through this kind of dissociative response. And when something is like that, we experience it as overwhelming and really stressful, and like, that we can't concretize it. And so then what we do is we fall back into black and white thinking, this notion of duality. We have to cut the head off, right? We just have to destroy it. And so then that sort of, to my mind,
bury it.
Right. Yeah. And so then we end up with, rage. We end up with rage that becomes internalized or split off, and then it manifests through depression, anxiety, shame, right? We're hiding things. We don't want to be found out, or like feel like we're a fraud. So I guess I feel like I kind of want to talk to our audience now and ask if there are any questions that any of our viewers have for Marianne or regarding this process, or any insights or comments that you may have. Here we have Inoka says, "Me too." I think she commented on that when you were talking about wanting to be a nun. And then we have Marie here who said, "Thank you." Thank you, Marie. Are there any other questions? I do have a poll here that I wanted to bring up, because I just wanted to see if anyone felt that the concept of demon feeding was intriguing, or they enjoyed learning about it. So I've posted a poll up there just to ask our viewers how they felt about this whole idea. But I absolutely feel like this is so integral. It's really like the linchpin to my mind, for when we want to, because the other thing that you said that stood out to me was the idea of neediness, right? That like, I'm a good Catholic girl. I don't need anything but a crumb and a glass of water, right? And I think that can apply to so many different, facets and cultures and whatnot. This sort of idea that we can't be selfish, and we have to be selfless, right? And being selfless somehow makes us like a good person or a better person. And I think that that's kind of one of our mindsets that we have to move beyond in relationships and in business, because it's all about value, right? Like when we are in relationships and we feel like we have to give so much of ourselves to the point where we're almost abandoning ourselves, it's because we're not valuing ourselves. And then when we feel like we're not willing to invest in ourselves because we're afraid of scarcity, right? Like, well, then I'll I'll never have any money. I can't do that. I'm coming from a place of poverty, a place of scarcity, a place of lack. Then it's a similar sort of value that's being expressed energetically. We're just seeing it in terms of money and the exchange of money. So I love this way of approaching it, and I love that it's about compassion and giving to yourself, right? As opposed to punishing yourself and telling yourself you should be this, you should be that, or suppressing the parts of yourself that are just demanding attention, right? So we have 100% poll responses for very interesting. I love that.
Yeah.
And here we have Inoka's asking, is a particular background necessary for training? Would you like to speak to that?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, so particular background. Thank you for that question, Inoka. I soon am going to show on a slide. If you would like to learn more about demon feeding and the teachings of Lama Sotomayor, first of all, get the book, Feeding Your Demons, and read it. It's wonderful. And you can also, we have a Sangha here, Tara. So you do not have to, no, you do not have a special background. If you want to learn how to feed your own demons, you can sign up for demon feeding classes through Tara Mandala, New York. And actually, can you show the next slide?
You know what I'll do? I'm going to post the link in the chat box.
Okay.
So I just posted a link in the chat box.
She's going to post the link, but basically we have a small... Okay, sorry. Interested in doing this practice for your own, for yourself, for your own spiritual practice, just for yourself, you can learn this and you can go to the link. But it's there's an email for Carla Jackson Brewer, who is the local. She's the director of Tara Mandala, New York, and she is an amazing teacher. And I studied with her. And you can attend a demon feeding class. She actually just led a wonderful session at Interdependence Project back in September, and we all did demon feeding. It was wonderful. Now, if you are a psychotherapist and you want to integrate this practice, then yes, you have to do what I did, which is it's an intensive training. So I was learning to feed my own demons. And then I completed the entire course. It's called Kapala. I completed level 1. So I did a 6-day intensive retreat. I was on my own and practicing and feeding my own demons. There's also a practice so with the demon feeding, there's this 5-step process. There's also a calming practice called Prajna Paramita, which is a kind of like shamatha. It's a calming practice that really reinforces the sense of unification, because we have to be careful about this working with energies that are fragmented. And so the Prajna Paramita helps and accesses the divine feminine source of all Buddhas, Prajna Paramita. And so that's a practice in combination, and there's often that tradition in Tibetan that they do. You have the wrathful and the peaceful. So that's a taste of the practice. So if you're a therapist like I did, you have to complete and become certified. I actually took a test. I had to do a demo in front of Lama Silchmali's team of other practitioners.
You can also do it online.
Yes. You want to talk about that, Brianna?
Well, I was looking it up, and you can actually become level 1 certified online now. But you do have to there is like an interactive piece through that. But I wanted to also let you know that Inoka also mentioned that she has had the opportunity to go through the demon feeding process with Marianne, and she felt it was the most direct access to her difficulties, pain, and struggle, and felt that it was a really deep alchemical process.
Wow.
Marianne says,
wow.
yeah. Marianne says that she loves the naming and placing of the demon, in that she also works with trauma and splitting a lot. She also mentions that EFT uses a similar process without the guided imagery, but they might have you say, I unconditionally love and accept myself while tapping. Anne says that she finds it fascinating and a beautiful process and would love to try it. She likes the use of color and light and finds it healing. And then Jackie has a question. And she asks, is it always practiced in a session with a partner, or do you ever try an exploration alone as a trained practitioner, and can you get the same effect?
Great question. Thank you, Jackie. Yes, you can do it alone. It's a little different, but it still is, absolutely, yes, still is powerful. And yeah, so I've done it alone. And I also do it I've done it with partners. Yeah, you can do it alone.
Great. I love that. So if you are interested in getting in touch with Marianne, or also I'm going to put your last slides up here. So this is the Tara Mandala information that Marianne provided. And I also put a link to the Institute in the chat box there. And if you're interested in contacting Marianne to try it out for yourself, or just to talk more with her about her practice, this is her contact information as well. So is there anything, any last comments or things that you'd want to share about your projects or what's going on for you right now, Marianne, before we end today?
Okay. Well, I just really want to thank you so much, Brianna. It's such a joy to be able to share this work. And especially, I love that we're lining up right up for Halloween. And yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I do still have I do have opportunity to see people individually for demon feeding, and I'm also going to be doing a dream matrix group, which I will be advertising. So I really encourage people to visit my website when I get together. So it's social dreaming, which is kind of connected in a way, the sense that we are all connected in our dreams to consciousness. But I really would this opportunity, and contact me if you would like to do some demon feeding with me. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, that's wonderful. I hope you have enjoyed learning about demon feeding today with Marianne, and how this can really impact, you know, the quality of your relationships and being able to break through your mindset, first by showing yourself compassion and love, and really embracing and alchemizing, right, those parts of ourselves that sometimes we maybe approach with a punitive sort of aspect, right? So I hope that you have found this information really great and rich and juicy and crunchy in the way that I do. And if you're interested in learning more about the programs that I offer, you can check me out at theabundanthealer.net or at briannamcwilliam.com. And I'll put those in the chat box as well. But any other questions? I'll ask one more time if there's any other questions before we end. I think we're good. So thank you to everyone who joined. And we will see you next time. If you're interested in seeing more interviews like this, please feel free to join my private Facebook group for the Abundant Healer. I'll send out the link with the replay. And I look forward to learning more. Tammy says thank you. That was very helpful to hear. Thank you, Tammy, for joining us. All right. Bye.